I'm here at San Diego State, where then Professor Shirley Weber roamed these halls and got her start establishing the Africana Studies department that we all know today in the 70s. This week, California's first Black Secretary of State sat down with me for a wide-ranging interview, talking about her plans for the future and what this moment has meant to her.
I never think about making history. Everybody tells me about it. You know, you're the first woman, you're the first African American to go to Sacramento from San Diego. You're the first youngest professor that ever was at State. And I recognize that. And anytime I make some of these milestones, I always ask the question, why so long? Why did it take 170 years for an African American to be Secretary of State in one of the most progressive states in the nation? And it's not that we were short of people qualified to do the job. You know, it's not that women couldn't be vice president of the United States and couldn't do a good job or even be president, but it has to do with us trying to overcome all these burdens and barriers that prevent us, that mostly are not about our ability, but really about those who make decisions. And our mission, even as an assembly member, yeah, I may be the first woman and first African Americans, but I should not be the last one from San Diego. That there are plenty of other folks equally, if not better qualified than myself. And we just have to make sure that we create those opportunities for them. So this is a unique opportunity. I've had a lot of young folks talk to me about, you know, what it's like to get to this level, to be number 3 in the state. And it's important. It's very significant, and it's a result of a lot of hard work. But it also was not on my life plan. You know, it was just as a result of working hard that people actually thought maybe this woman should do this, you know, and talk to me about it. But it was not something that I had purposely planned.
Of course, you mentioned you have a very special connection to San Diego State, and Dr. Weber brought up some memories she had as a child and being around campus. And you created the Africana department in the 70s, and the department is more important now more than ever, especially with this demand for social justice. And I'm just so curious, like, what was it like at the school in San Diego during that time, getting that started?
You know, it was a very difficult time in the early 70s because people thought it was going to be just something that, you know, that the radicals wanted for a short period of time, Africana studies, Chicano studies, women's studies, and then it will go away. You know, in time, that stuff will go away. You've done it, and let's move on to something else. And of course, we realize women's studies just celebrated its 50th anniversary, and Africana studies will be celebrating its 50th in another year. And because people realized that it was just not a fad. It was a response to a real void in the institution. That the institution of learning should be teaching about everybody, and that we had a social, not an academic responsibility, but a social responsibility. That some of the challenges we face in society are a direct result of ignorance, that we don't know about each other. We don't know about women. We don't know the history of African Americans. We don't know the history of our Native Americans. We don't know a lot about everybody we meet every day. And not knowing about them makes us even more vulnerable in terms of people's misinformation and stories that are told that are untrue, pretensions that's here. I know that as a fact that the students, the thousands and thousands of students who went through my classes for 40 years at San Diego State, I believe are better students as a result of the experience, not just because I was a professor, but because of the students they met in the classes. My white students, my Black students, Native American students, those who travel with me to Africa, who were in classes with me, they are very different professionals than others.
With the special election coming up for your former seat, I know you're a neutral party, but can you talk about how important it is for maybe students, staff, faculty that are residents in the area or live in the area, about how important it is that they join this process and vote?
It is extremely important that students vote. I mean, I think students had a great turnout this year. I think students realize that they're affected by it. You know, you are a student who attends a state institution, which means you are funded by the state. You have a vested interest, probably much more than some other students who go to private institutions. The decisions we make about financial assistance or the expansion of campuses or the requirements for campuses, academic and otherwise, directly affect you. And hopefully students recognize that by being silent, they end up getting whatever they get. And I know students became very involved when we had campuses putting all these special fees on students. And students realized this is affecting my life. You know, some other campuses don't have it. San Diego State did. I had to author several pieces of legislation to basically make sure the students had input into the implementation of those fees. So students became real aware very quickly that, you know, we just can't be students who come in, go to class and go home. We have to participate, and it's important. So you're going to have an election that affects San Diego State because the 79 sits in San Diego State sits in the heart of the 79, and you should pay close attention. as to who's going to represent your interests, what their values are, what engagement, if any, they've had in the past with your campus, and how accessible they're going to be. Are they going to be receptive to students who have ideas about how the campus should be run and supported? We'll see what happens with the political landscape in the 79th. But in the end, I think we'll be just fine, because 79th is a great district with a lot of wonderful people in it.
Do you plan to run again in 2022?
I have a campaign for 2022. That was the deal I made, that if I when I was asked to do it, that I would not do it as a caretaker. Do it as someone who's going to actually be Secretary of State. And that's the only way I would have taken it anyway, simply because you can't do a whole lot in a year. It takes, as much as I'm learning about the Secretary of State right now and the work that I've done over the years, it's going to take me a while to really become, proficient in it in the next few months. And so to do that and then turn around and not run again would be, what a waste of information and energy. So no, we're excited about the 2022 election for the full term as Secretary of State.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you again, Secretary Weber, for talking with me and the Daily Aztec, and hopefully we can connect soon again later this year.
Thank you.
What's next for Secretary Weber includes the special election in June and the growing threat of a recall of Governor Gavin Newsom. For the Daily Aztec, I'm Jayne Yutig.